make video today. So the app that I use to do this is an app called Acapella. It's like a free multi-track audio recording app that also includes video. So you may have seen some folks using this to make videos of like themselves singing a song while they harmonize with themselves. That's definitely one thing you can do with it, but I figured you could also have some fun with this even if you are a percussionist like me. So I'm going to use 7 different sounds today, so I picked a layout that has 7 different boxes on it, although there's lots of different layouts. And I'm going to go ahead and start with this bottom left corner, although it really doesn't matter, I guess. Cool. And so I think today I'm kind of feeling in the mood to play with a specific tempo. So I'm going to click the tempo button, and maybe I'll click it. There we go. Cool. And it's set at 96. That was a good year. Let's go with 96 for today. All right, so let's start this off with a little bit of kick drum. So I've got my phone down here on the floor. I've got my bass here, and we're just going to hit play and record something. I haven't really planned this out yet, so we're just going to take a very improvisational approach today. Here we go. So the next instrument I want to add to this is a brake drum. And a brake drum is literally a drum out of the brakes of a car. So it's a great example of a junk instrument. And it's got such a great resonance and a great attack. It's honestly like one of my favorite percussion instruments ever. I just find myself really drawn to these kind of junky metal sounds, especially when you combine them with drums or you use them in ways that are really delicate or pretty. So let's go ahead and add some of that. Now what I've done with the bass drum recording is I turned it all the way down, so I won't be able to hear the bass drum thing that I just played. I'm only going to be able to hear the metronome that's clicking off that tempo. And the idea behind that is just to see if I play something on the brake drum and I play something against what I already played on the bass drum, later we'll go back and listen to it and see if those things line up in ways that are maybe different or interesting, or maybe just a total hot mess. I don't know, we'll see. So let's go ahead and record some brake drum. The next track we're going to record is this wonderful little round device you see in front of you. This is one of probably my favorite percussion finds of all time. This is a bundt cake pan. I bought it for $1 at a yard sale, but listen to this. Yeah, it sounds like some kind of crazy church bell or something. So let's go ahead and add some of that on there. Just like with the previous 2 tracks, I turned them both down so that I'm actually not hearing what I recorded before, and I'm just going to add something to this, so we'll see what it sounds like later. All right, so this is a percussion video, and we had a bass drum, so we should probably have a snare drum. When I'm picking out instruments to do things like this with, I like to think about it almost like I'm cooking. And my students will laugh at me right now because they know I always make food analogies, but it makes sense with music too. So we've got kind of a low tubby bass drum. We've got the high, almost chirpy sound of the brake drum. We've got the bundt pan, which is very resonant, and so we're going to add the snare drum, which is a little bit crunchy and a lot higher, but I'm also going to add some extra crunch with this thing which is called a ching ring, and it's like a metal ring with some tambourine jingles on it. So that's going to make the snare drum go from that to It's a little more muted and a little bit more of that crunch. Cool, so here's another favorite of my percussion instruments. These are some old coffee cans. So again, these are another favorite thing of mine. I like a lot of junky sounding instruments, like I said before, and what's cool about these is that even though they're all the same size, they each get a little bit of a different pitch, so it can kind of make some melodic, almost melodic kinds of things, quasi-melodic, I guess you could say. So let's add a little bit of coffee cans. So next up, I have the key chimes. These are some wind chimes made in Bloomington, Indiana, and literally they're just keys that haven't been cut yet. So they have a really delicate kind of tinkling sound that I like in the way that it can balance out the heavier drums and the junky metal sounds. So let's go ahead and add this. This is a washing machine drum that, with the help of my wonderful friend Coco Loop, we literally extracted from her old washing machine. And it's got a really incredible sound. It's like one solid piece of metal. So if I pick it up, it's very resonant. It's got a lot of side sounds. And the post in the middle is really cool. So let's go ahead and add some of that to our recording. So once I've got all of the different instruments recorded, you can see them all in here, I can go back and mix the audio levels. Because like I said before, I turned all of them down as I was recording, so as I was playing each thing, I wasn't listening to anything else I had already recorded. So I can go back and I can change the levels so that they're all loud enough to be heard, and I can mix them and make them louder or softer or whatever it is that I want to do, just like I might mix just an audio recording. So we'll check it all out together. So after I make a recording like that, I always go back and listen to it just like we just did. So for that particular recording, I really like how noisy it is, which is, I would have expected that given all the different metal junky sounds. But I like the chaos of it. I like the noisiness and the junkiness of it. But I noticed that there's also parts where things line up. So there's a part where I heard like the kick drum and the snare drum kind of have some neat interplay together, or the snare drum and the cans did some stuff where they shared a figure kind of back and forth. So once something like that is done, there's a lot of different directions I might take with that. I might go through and pull out some of my favorite parts and turn those into a piece of their own, especially when I find those things that are kind of surprising or different than things I might have thought up on my own, but they're just in there, so I might use this for something else. As I'm going through the motions of doing that, I might come across another idea that I like better. So maybe As I'm playing the brake drum, something pops in my mind of like, oh, I should try to play the brake drum like this, or play it with a hi-hat or something. And then I'll go back and try that as a different thing. Maybe sometimes I just needed to go through the motions of doing a piece of music and build up that momentum. So now that I've got all my equipment set up, I'm up and I've got my recording going, then it's easier for me to keep going with it. So sometimes it's just something to get started. And sometimes I'll even just leave it as it is and let it kind of exist how it is. So like sometimes I find it really helpful to just let go of some of that preciousness of feeling like every note has to be just as it is, but to kind of embrace the chaos of the outcome just for the sheer pleasure of like making something. And so I find that like at times like this, especially now when there's so much going on in the world, when a lot of artists are making art that's really political, and I feel like I want to be commenting on the times and saying something and making that statement, I get really stuck in feeling like everything has to be perfect, or everything has to be this really perfect, strong statement that is sometimes hard to do with really abstract percussion. So sometimes I find that just letting my hands take over lets some of that pressure go, and then when that pressure is gone, I can make the things that I really want to make because I'm not overthinking it. And sometimes the things that I make by just letting my hands take the lead end up saying exactly what I wanted to say in the first place. They just kind of take a different route to get there.